All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Thursday. Today's draft day, and before we get into the draft and whatnot, and we get into the after draft and post draft conversations, I just wanted to drop my 5.0 mock draft. This is going to be my final version of my mock draft. This is predictive as I can get it. I don't think I'm going to get any of these picks right, maybe two of them, because they're the two most obvious ones. But we'll see what else. I feel good about most of these guys, and I feel like this is probably one of the best mock drafts I've put together. So I projected some trades in this just because that's how the draft is, and it's wonky like that. I'm sure not all these trades will go through, or maybe even none of them will, but this is just based on what I've been hearing. This is based on what the rumors are saying, so let's get into it. At 1 and 2, it's kind of obvious. I think it's going to be Lawrence and Wilson. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that's going to change. Number 3, San Francisco. It seems to be down to Trey Lance and Mac Jones. Personally, I think because of how involved they were in Trey Lance's second pro day, that's who the pick is going to be. Now, they could defer to Kyle Shanahan, and they could look like idiots and take Mac Jones, but Trey Lance seems like a good pick here, and it's the pick that I would personally make if it wasn't Justin Fields. Between these two guys, Jones and Lance, I'd take Lance. Moving on to number 4, Kyle Pitts. I think that's what my gut says. I think they will like Kyle Pitts a lot more than any of the quarterbacks that are on the board, and they'll probably go for him. Number 5, I think the Bengals' logic of taking a receiver before a tackle is there. I don't think it's a great logic, but I think it could happen. And reuniting Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow would be interesting to watch. Miami at 6. When you look at them, I really think they're targeting Rashawn Slater or maybe Penei Sewell. But for now, I think this is really the only place you can get a playmaker like a Jalen Waddle. And that is that's who they're gonna take here at 6. I think you have to go with a good playmaker, either Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle, if we're being honest. But moving on to number 7, it's New England, who I'm projecting up to trade for Justin Fields. It's pretty self-explanatory. They just need their quarterback. Detroit's kind of in a situation where they can trade down here. Number 8, Carolina keeps the pick and goes Penei Sewell. Number 9, Philadelphia, as we move on here, projects it down, trades up with Denver to try and take Patrick Surtain out of the Cowboys' hands, but I think ultimately J.C. Horn is going to be their guy. J.C. Horn is my cornerback 1, and I think is a cornerback 1 on a lot of other people's boards because he doesn't have a noticeable weakness, and I think that's really who Dallas is targeting. So Philadelphia does a Philly there as they try and tank. Number 11 is kind of interesting because I had Miami trade back up. We've seen this front office get aggressive before, and I think they could definitely go after a guy like Rashawn Slater here. Denver trading down will get JOK. I think that's a really good fit for them. 13 and 14 I've heard is going to be Darrisaw and Vera Tucker, depending on who's there. If both Slater and Sewell are off the board, I think it will end up being those two, which I could definitely see happening. I don't love Darrisaw that high up. I think Tevin Jenkins is a little bit better than him, but I think this is kind of a likely scenario. And then Devontae Smith falls all the way to 15 for Detroit, which would be a steal for them, maybe a good draft pick. 16 is interesting because Mac Jones has fallen all this way. He's fallen out of the top 15. I think some team is going to want him and end up making a call for him. And for me, that's going to be Chicago. We've seen him do it with Mitchell Trubisky, and I think we'll see him do it here with Mac Jones. And that Arizona's kind of in that situation trade down because all their guys are kind of off the board. The J.C. Horns, the Patrick Surtains, whatnot like that. So I think Mac Jones will end up being the pick for Chicago if they're able to trade up. Maybe it could be another pick for like a San Francisco up there. Regardless, Mac Jones will probably not make it out of the top 20, which is kind of interesting to watch. It's interesting because I don't regard him that highly, but there he is. Moving on to 17, Las Vegas is going to take Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State. I really like this kid, and I don't really know what the Raiders are doing right now because they've let go of a lot of guys. But here they are. I think Tevin Jenkins would be an excellent fit for them. Moving on to 18, the Giants, who trade down, will take Jalen Phillips, who they probably would end up taking at 10 anyway, or 11 anyway. And they get him there for much better value. That's honestly a steal right there. Washington goes Parsons. Collins goes to Arizona, which is kind of interesting because I've heard they've liked Collins. Whether they move him to edge rusher or keep him at linebacker is yet to be seen. But especially after they drafted Isaiah Simmons, I found it a little interesting that they are targeting that guy. Moving on to 21 is Indy with Kwity Paye. Caleb Farley falls to Tennessee here. It's just a thing. I think he's going to fall into injuries because we got to remember teams really put a lot of stock into these injuries, and I think Caleb Farley is a guy that's going to fall a little bit more than you'd expect him to. 23, Bateman goes to the Jets. I think, honestly, the Jets wide receiver ranking or core is a lot worse than people give it credit for. And I think Rashad Bateman is a guy that can really help that team out, kind of be paired with Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder, and do much better in terms of being able to revitalize this New York Jets offense. Reports are saying at the bottom of here that Najee Harris will not fall past Pittsburgh, and this is exactly what I have them doing. I think they should go offensive line. I don't know who they'd take here though, so I think Najee Harris is your best bet here at 24. Moving on to our last 8 picks, we've got Christian Barmore going to Jacksonville. They kind of need help along their defense. I'm honestly surprised he wouldn't go higher. I could definitely see a team like Las Vegas taking a shot at Christian Barmore because that's what Las Vegas does. Greg Newsome goes 26. Azeez Ojulari falls a little bit, which is interesting, but the edge rushers kind of fell in this mock draft just because Jalen Phillips went a bit later. So I think you could realistically see Ojulari at 27, and I think he would be a really good replacement for Matthew Judon. Whether they keep him for a really long amount of time is yet to be seen, but finding Azeez Ojulari here would be extremely good for the Ravens. And moving on to 28, Asante Samuel Jr. I wish Bossman Fat didn't have as many character issues as he has because he'd probably be the pick here, but I'm doing a predictive mock, and this is how it rolls. I think Asante Samuel will be excellent in New Orleans next to Marshawn Lattimore. 30, they lost Corey Linsley, the Packers did. So what I'm proposing is you move Eldon Jenkins to center, which I think is where he played in Mississippi State. And then you move Jalen Mayfield inside to guard, and I think that would solve your problems on the offensive line. A couple trades here at the bottom. Obviously, Baltimore traded Orlando Brown to the Chiefs for that 31st pick, where they go turn around after taking Azeez Ojulari and get another really good player in Kadarius Toney. But the other 2 trades here, I think Cincinnati's going to hop a couple people and end up moving up with Buffalo to try and get a tackle. I think that could be Liam Eichenberg. I like Eichenberg a lot, and I think if they move Williams inside to left guard, Eichenberg could really benefit there at left tackle. And then finally, rounding out the first round, we have the New York Jets moving up to get Creed Humphrey, just attaching kind of a first round or a 5th-year option to Creed Humphrey because some teams do that. I mean, I think we saw the Vikings do that with Teddy Bridgewater. We definitely saw the Ravens do that with Lamar Jackson in 2018. And while Creed Humphrey isn't necessarily a quarterback, I think you're going to see the Jets value him and want to take him there. So that's the first round. Again, as predictive as I can get it. Obviously, I'm not going to be right on all of these picks. Probably not any of these picks again. You never know what's going to happen. Some trade could ruin everything. So, but these are my rankings after the draft. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about life after the draft here. If you're just here for the mock draft, feel free to leave. But life after the draft, I'm looking at 2022 stuff. I'm probably going to do draft grades. I'm probably going to see if the Broncos pick anybody who I haven't done a film session on. I'll probably do that. We did that with Jerry Jeudy last year, so we might get into that. Other than that, we might do some early 2022 stuff. We'll play it by year, right? That's what we do here, and we're going to keep building. So if you enjoyed this Mock Draft 5.0, make sure to like and subscribe. More content coming over here. It's been a great 2021 draft season, and I'm excited for tonight. Drop your opinion on who I picked for your team. If you're watching this on Thursday, and if you're not watching this on Thursday, I don't know what the hell you're doing because the draft already happened. But thanks for the view and whatnot, and thanks for listening. So if you make sure to like and subscribe once again, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.